what you need is a good plan for getting back on track. If the reclaiming of a habit is fast, the breaking of it doesn't matter that much. You get to the end of the year and it's just like a little blip on the radar, but you need a good plan for getting back on track quickly. So I think that some of the balance, some of the strategy is actually knowing what to do when you fail.
Yeah.
And if you figure that out, then you're in a good position to bounce back quickly.
Funnily enough, when I fail, when I fall off my gym workout or whatever, what I do is I set the display picture on my iPhone to red. And I guess this is a point of self-awareness. It just reminds me that we've currently fallen off. And it means every time I look at my phone, it's a reminder that this is code red.
Wow, that's great.
That
What a strong visual sign.
Yeah. And that I need to start doing the small steps, doing the shit workouts again.
So I have this little theory that the secret to winning is actually learning how to lose. It's that the secret to winning is knowing how to lose. And what I mean is that it's knowing how to handle a loss. It's knowing how to rebound and bounce back from that. I think that I learned it through sports. I don't think sports is the only way you can learn it. I think probably anything that you do with some level of public visibility could teach you, musical performance or being in a fitness group with your friends, or there's lots of ways you do it, speaking publicly. But one thing about sports is that you're going to fail in front of the rest of the team. Like the ball will come to you, you'll make the strikeout to end the game, or you go into the gym and work out with the team and you miss a lift or you're the weak one or whatever. That doesn't feel good, but then you realize life moves on and you got to go on to the next set and you have to show up again the next time. And each little instance where there's a little failure like that is practice for you to bounce back again. And I think it's important to have something in life that's like that, that's teaching you how to respond to failure, that you're learning how to lose and how to bounce back from a loss so that you can ultimately win. I got to the point at the end of my career, my senior year, where I was basically like, listen, I don't want to lose, but if we're going to lose, I'd rather it be me. I'd rather be out there. Put it on my shoulders. I can take the loss. I can handle it. I'll give you everything I have to try to get us to win. But if we lose, I'll be able to bounce back from it. And I think that ended up serving me really well in my entrepreneurial career, because stuff is never going to go your way all the time. And you need to be able to be willing to try things and be willing to sometimes look foolish because of them and still find a way to show back up the next time.
It reminds me of watching Roger Federer's commencement speech. He's arguably the best tennis player of all time. And shockingly, in his commencement speech, I don't know if you saw it, he talks about how in his career, he's missed something like 47% of the points. So he's the best to ever do it. And he only in his career has won 53% of the points, which means that half the time he's taking L's. But the difference is what he does when he takes the L. And not allowing that L, that missed point, to compound into his next shot. And I was in LA with my friends for my birthday. My friend Ash, who's had the most paddle training. We were playing paddle. That's what we do basically all the time when we see each other, our group of friends. He had the most paddle training. He's been in Spain with a coach. But when he lost a point, he would then start losing easy points. And there's this photo of me watching him play. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with him? He's the best. He's meant to be the best player. He's got the most practice, most repetitions. But when he loses a point, this downward spiral takes place where he just starts missing easy shots. So when he sat down, I told him about Roger Federer's thing, and I gave him this little idea in his head to handle the loss. And I said to him, when you lose the point, say in your head, that point doesn't matter. I'm going to win this game anyway because I am the better player. And I still get goosebumps when I say it, because he went from being the 5th best in our group of 5 to beating all of us immediately. And it's so funny because my girlfriend and everyone here knows, he was dancing through the house the same day. He beat all of us. I had never been beaten by him. I have a paddle court in my garden. He beat me immediately. And all it was making sure that when he took an L, he didn't spiral into the emotional center of his brain and start catastrophizing, which he's susceptible to if you know him. He went straight back into the prefrontal cortex, the rational center of his brain. And he said it. He's posted about it online. And part of my Asia tour recently was I showed all the videos and all the WhatsApp messages of this whole thing happening. But it just goes to show that actually it's how you take the L.
I love those mindset shifts. It's just it's living life with a next play mentality. It's you don't let the last play dictate you or ruin you. We have to move on and make the next best choice now. We have to live for the next play.
And how much emotion just ruins our training.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like a lot of this is, there's a great book, Inner Game of Tennis, that came out many, many years ago. It might even be 50 at this point. But it's basically all about this. It's about not getting in your head. Okay. And it's specifically for tennis, but it applies to life. It's just about, yeah, it's moving on and having this next play mentality.
So David Brailsford said that to me as well, that one of his main objectives when he had the cycling team was to get them not to think about the race while they were on the race. And he said, I think it was Sir Chris Hoy or someone, he said, my entire training with Chris Hoy was getting him to stop thinking about the current race he was in, and that when Chris was hit his personal bests, he would get off the bike and have no recollection of cycling. He goes to the point that it was like he was asleep on the bike. Because when the alternative meant that Chris would start thinking about his time and then cycling too hard and exhausting himself and fall out of his training. So fascinating. You talk about daily mental mindsets as well. Is it important to adopt a particular daily mental mindset?
Well, I had this thought that one time I had this thought that it would be cool to be able to hire a mental performance coach who just did one thing. So you hire this coach and then they call you up each morning, like 8 a.m. or something, and they give you like a 5-minute pep talk, or just they give you like a 5-minute mindset shift, just something little, kind of like what you said to your friend, and just like you get this little mindset shift to reset your day and go into it with momentum, and then they hang up and you just go do your thing. I couldn't find anybody who, could do that. But I've been working on this little project where I've been trying to figure out how to do it. And so I came up with, it sounds almost kind of silly, but I'm really excited about it. I came up with this Atomic Habits daily calendar. And the idea is it's actually like a blend of Atomic Habits principles and 3-2-1, which is my weekly newsletter. And I just have like one little mindset shift that's on each page. And it's just one page for each day of the year. You just look at it, read that page, boom, go into your day. And like, it's just intended to be a little mindset shift. Anyway, it's just a small thing, but I like the idea of priming yourself to start the day in the right way. And I don't know. I didn't think that I would be excited about a calendar, but I'm kind of excited about it. I don't know. I kind of feel like it could be good. So
is it coming out?
Yes, it'll be out soon. Yeah.
Okay. And where would we find that? Do we sign up to the?
It's on Amazon. You can go there, or you can go to jamesclear.com and you'll find it there. But yeah.
So this book, The Atomic Habits Workbook, Simple Exercises for Building the Life You Want, is now out. It came out this week. What is the distinction between these two books? If I've read Atomic Habits already,
let me have them both. All right. So Atomic Habits is the culmination of basically 10 years of work and effort from me. It's like my objective was to write the best book that's ever been written on habits. Now, I don't know that I achieved that or not. That's for the readers to decide. But I don't think you're ever going to just stumble into that result. Like you have to at least strive for it. And so that was the hope, is that everything that you could possibly need to know about building good habits and breaking bad ones should be in Atomic Habits. So then you're like, okay, why would I need a workbook? But what I've learned over the last 7 years of this being out and selling 25 million copies is that people always need more tangible, practical help with implementing their habits. So Atomic Habits is the full guide and the philosophy and the approach on how to do it. Then you finish this book and you sit there and you say, all right, great. I have some habits I want to build. How do I do that? And the exercises in the workbook are intended to help you do that. They help you look at your environment and figure out, how do I optimize it? They help you look at your goals and how do I translate it into a system? They help you look at your desired identity and how are my habits reinforcing it? So it's just a series of exercises that help you apply and implement the ideas from Atomic Habits.
The great thing about the way that you write is it's so unbelievably accessible. So unbelievably accessible in the context, which means that you don't need to be a scientist or an expert to understand the concepts. And I think that's why the book Atomic Habits has been so unbelievably successful. But this book, the workbook, follows in the same vein. It allows people at all levels of their knowledge of habits and intellect to get going and to start sort of holding themselves accountable, I'd say. Accountability is a huge part of this. I kind of see elements of that fitness group I described, Fitness Blockchain, just because you're reflecting and you're writing down what happened. And like you said earlier about how just journaling increases the likelihood of a behavior, this book will raise your self-awareness.
Yes, that's actually a great summary of it. I think it makes you more aware of your habits and your environment and what you're trying to do specifically, rather than just understanding the concepts.
James, thank you. Thank you for changing so many people's lives. You must hear this all the time, but what a remarkable impact you must have had on so many people you'll never get to meet, getting them to quit habits that would have otherwise been fatal for them. My dad is a prime example of someone who was smoking for 20 odd years of his life. He starts reading about these habit cycles in your work, but in other people's work as well. And he's quit smoking, and that's probably extended his life to some degree. And that's one such example of I'd say 25 million because I know the Atomic Habits has sold 25 million, but you've reached many millions of people through your newsletter as well, 321, which is the newsletter has kind of created a blueprint for anyone that writes a newsletter, frankly. I think everybody looks up to your work and what you've built as the framework for starting their own newsletters. And you'll never get to see the downstream impact of the work you've done, but on behalf of everybody who's had their life changed because of the hard work you've put in and your obsession and your focus and your passion and these incredible works of art that you've written and that you didn't rush, thank you. And thank you on behalf of myself, because your work has been super formative in how I think about business, how I think about my team, and many of the phrases that we use in our office every single day to build the companies we've built have come from your work as well. Everybody needs to go out. I mean, if you don't have Atomic Habits, then I don't know what you've been doing with your life, but now that the Atomic Habits workbook is here, you now have a much more self-awareness inducing, practical, hands-on framework for implementing some of the stuff you've read in Atomic Habits. And I'm going to link both of them below so everybody can go grab them, but also James's newsletter is phenomenal, so I'll link that below as well. We do have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they're leaving it for. And the question that has been left for you: dear next person in the chair, what do you believe is the best way to unify people of differing or even conflicting beliefs? Let me know your thoughts. Best, Kamal Harris.
I think the best way is to scale it down. If you say, how can we have a more unified nation? It's big, it's vague, it's almost impossible. It's like an intractable level. But if you scale it down, now you can come up with things. How can you have a more unified neighborhood? You could start a book club or do a block party, or you can come up with all kinds of things that you could do. And what you find is that in many cases in life, problems are intractable at a certain level, at a certain scale. And if you shift what level you're at, suddenly it reveals itself and there's a new solution. And so I think that is obviously true with big picture things like the question I was asked, but it's also true for your habits. If you think about your life in general and you say, how can I have a better life? Or how can I figure out my purpose? How can I figure out, how to have a life of meaning? These are big, hard questions. Sometimes they're almost intractable. They're too vague. They're too broad. But if you can scale it down and say, how can I live a good day today? Or how can I have a good week? How can I have, a good next hour? How can I make this minute as perfect as possible? Well, those levels are much more achievable. And so I think if you scale your habits down to a level that's more solvable, you'll often see that there's a path forward there.
What's interesting with your neighborhood analogy as well is that neighborhoods are interconnected. So if I focus on making my neighborhood good, then that kind of just crosses over with the next neighborhood, like thinking about my street where I used to live. And so if that neighborhood becomes good, it's going to then hit the next domino, which is the neighborhood next door, and then eventually
which is also true for your personal life. Each unit of time, each little habit is connected. You put your habits together and you kind of end up with this system of behaviors that influence your day and your week. So mastering this hour makes the next hour a little bit better as well. I ultimately chose the phrase atomic habits for 3 reasons. So there's 3 meanings to the word atomic. The first is tiny or small, like an atom, which obviously I think your habits should be small and easy to do. The second meaning is the one we're talking about now and the one people often forget, which is an atom is a fundamental unit in a larger system. So atoms build in molecules, molecules build in compounds, and so on. And your habits are kind of like the little units of your day. Collectively you put them together and you have your daily routine. And then the third meaning is the source of immense energy or power. And so if you put all 3 of these together, you kind of understand the narrative arc of the book, which is you make changes that are small and easy to do. You layer them together like units in a larger system. And collectively, you get this powerful, remarkable result as a process, or as a consequence. And that is the idea behind Atomic Habits. You make these small changes, and it's not just one, it's like 100 or 1,000 of them, and collectively they come together to create this powerful, impressive life.
Powerful, impressive life. Do you think that we should all be aiming at, this is a bit of an interesting word, but happiness? Is that the North Star that our habits should ladder up towards, or fulfillment, or whatever one might say, or meaning?
First of all, I think we should distinguish between happiness and meaning, or happiness and purpose or something, fulfillment. I don't think they're necessarily the same. There are many moments in my life when I am happy, and that can be in the moment. And a lot of the most meaningful things that I worked on, Atomic Habits is one of the most meaningful projects that I've worked on. It seems to have made a big difference for a lot of people or helped a lot of people. I feel great about that. But I wasn't necessarily happy every minute that I was working on it. It was quite difficult in lots of different times, and it took a long time and it was arduous and so on. But it provides a lot of meaning. So I definitely think it was worth it, even if I wasn't always happy in the moment. So I don't know that you should necessarily optimize for any of that all the time. I don't think your habits will lead you to some place where you are just permanently happy. But they will definitely take you on a journey where happiness is part of it and where meaning can be part of it. And there are lots of other things that are parts of life too. But yeah, I think that you will be well served to invest in them for sure.
James, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you so much for saying those kind of things. That's very nice of you. I have been incredibly lucky and blown away by the reception to the book. And it feels great to know that people are finding it useful. All I wanted to do was try to be useful and helpful. And I appreciate you saying that. And I'm grateful that many other people have found it helpful as well.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever realize, you see 25 million people have bought the book, but it's much bigger than that. It's billions of people have been impacted by that, because everybody is like a pebble thrown into the ocean, right? There's these ripple effects that go on, and it changes their professional life, their personal life, their health, their friendships, relationships.